employing the lifeguards here today and at other pools as we speak right now. It is my honor to introduce Mayor Bowser.
Thank you. Thanks, Amanda. Thank you. Whoa. It still got me in the sun. Well, good morning, everybody. And I want to thank Amina for that great introduction and thank our wonderful lifeguards. Give them a big round of applause. And I want to also thank our amazing team at the Department of Parks and Recreation, where the fun happens. I want to acknowledge and thank them for creating an amazing lineup of summer activities. And that includes at our parks, our pools, our spray parks, our recreation centers. It has truly been an amazing summer for our kids. I also want to give a big round of applause to DPR Interim Director Thinny Freeman. Give Thinny a big round of applause. Thinny has been leading DPR since April, where she raised her hand to lead. And she did it right at the start of the summer season. So that means getting pools open, hiring, and making sure that the sign-ups go smoothly, summer camps go smoothly, and everybody from our littlest recreators to our senior recreators are enjoying themselves. And she has just done an outstanding job for her. So for all of us, and it gives me great pleasure to announce today that I will be appointing Thinny as the permanent director of DPR. I think they're excited, Thinny. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thinny has been serving DC families for 15 years. First in DCPS, then at DOES, working on the Marion Barry Summer Youth Program. And now she just leads an outstanding team of DC government workers, employees, recreators who show up every day making sure that our citizens are served well. But today, Thinny wanted to make sure that we recognize our lifeguards who have been staffing our 34 indoor and outdoor pools all summer, and we want to thank them for their dedication. So during a summer where we experienced record heat and a record number of people using our pools, our lifeguards showed up for DC. And I know I speak for our community in saying how proud and grateful we are for them. And this also gives us an opportunity to have people thinking about next summer, because we're always recruiting in DC government. And we want people to know what an outstanding opportunity lifeguarding is. So while we hope many of our lifeguards return, we're also excited to launch a new Junior Lifeguard Academy for young people ages 13 to 19. The program will start this fall, and students will learn about conditioning, water safety, CPR, and more. We are proud of the swimming program we have for our elementary students at DCPS, and this creates another opportunity for our young people. So DPR will start their annual free, did you hear me? Free lifeguard training in September. So there are lots of opportunities between now and next summer for young people to get certified to serve as lifeguards. And you should know this, parents, guardians. They get paid $22 an hour. Did you hear me? $22 an hour, and they probably can get as many hours as they want during the summer. So we also want to highlight and thank DC Fire and EMS who support our lifeguard teams. Not only do our fire and EMS officials do emergency calls, they're also out at community events, making sure everybody knows Hands on Heart CPR. So we started Hands on Hearts in the fall of 2015, and since then, get this, fire and EMS has trained 92,000 people in Hands on Heart CPR. So you remember when we started talking about this, we learned that a lot of people were hesitant to do CPR because they didn't want to do mouth-to-mouth or they didn't know how to do it right. And it turns out that Hands on Hearts is a great way to save lives because frequently you're going to be the first there. A neighbor, a coworker, a family member, and doing Hands on Hearts before fire and EMS and RISE can save lives. So we will hear from the Assistant Chief in a little bit and also get a Hands on Hearts demonstration. But before I do that, I want to turn to DPR's next permanent director to say a little bit more about DPR, Thenie Freeman.
Team DPR! Team DPR! Team DPR! Man! First and foremost, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mayor Bowser. Thank you so much for trusting little old me with such a big agency. When Mayor Bowser asked me to lead, she said, "Are you ready for summer?" I should have said, "Is summer ready for us?" Team DPR! Where fun happens safely. None of that would be available, or we would have it if it wasn't for the investments in Rec for All. You named just a few accomplishments. We are so proud to create opportunities to serve. We started our lifeguard training this year in December of 2022, and at the beginning of the pool season, we were able to open on time when other jurisdictions were not. And guess what we did? We sent referrals because we had enough staff to open our pools on time. Our lifeguards, people don't understand the average age is between 16 and 18. So they're really high school youth, young youth who do have an opportunity to work for DC government. It's official on their resume. It's on their paycheck. They get paid. Right, y'all? Look, they're so excited. They said, "Don't say too much. We don't want our friends to really know." But there are over 309,000 public pools in the nation, and half of them did not open on time or had reduced hours. That was not our problem. DC is open, and so were our pools. We've had over 300,000 visits since June, so give our aquatics team a hand, led by Arrow. Give it up. It's cool to be at the pool, but we got to do it safely. But that's not all. As Mayor stated, we're launching more programs this fall. Especially, we're so proud of our junior lifeguard training program. Our youth will be able to put their phones down and get in the water and get strong conditioning and learn about pool safety. In addition to that, we also will launch our Mommy and Me dance class and our Daddy and Me cooking class. Give it up. All of this. And let me just say, we have two employees that are deputy directors in the agency. One is deputy director of administrative services. He started as a lifeguard. And the other is deputy director of recreation services, Marcus Coates, who started as a junior roving leader. So DPR is a place where you can grow and groom talent. We are an award-winning system. We're the #1 park system in the nation for 3 years in a row. Can you say 3P? Thank you. Our boost camp is nationally recognized. We received an award, went all the way to Florida to get it, for program excellence. And we just won an award from the National Recreation and Park Association, NRPA, for $50,000 for our Chicken and Waffles program that happens in Ward 1 at Parkview. Last week, there was articles about how recreation centers are no longer having travel leagues. That's not us. We have 15 travel teams. If you noticed last night, Team DC Defenders competed in the semifinals in the Team Combat League. We're doing it. So at DPR, we play in the water, we play in the dirt, we play in the parks, we play after dark. We play with rockets, we play in the gym, and we even play go-go pockets. Chuck Brown Day, see y'all on Saturday. The point of it all, fun is serious business, and DC Parks and Recreation teams work hard so our residents can play harder. Thank you to the executive team, Gina, Amy, James, Marcus, Hannah, HQ team, support services team. Shout out to these our audio visual techs who are at every mayoral event, making sure you guys can hear our mayor. Shout out to the recreators, the innovators, the motivators. And Mayor Bowser, I heard you loud and clear, and I boldly accept the charge to lead this multi-generational movement that creates memorable moments that we call the DC Department of Parks and Recreation.
Yes, you heard that. All right, let's hear from Fire EMS Chief Anune.
What a tough act to follow. That was the most appropriate appointment, and we thank you, and we look forward to your leadership. Good morning. My name is Queen Anune, and I am the Assistant Fire Chief of the EMS Bureau. Today, I'm here to talk more about our citywide Hands-on Hearts program and how the public can learn how to save a life. But first, I would like to thank Mayor Bowser for your commitment and continued support for our Hands-on Hearts program. And we also thank you, the 92,000 residents who have signed up to be trained and learn this life-saving skill. Cardiac arrest can happen anywhere and when you least expect it to happen. So hands-on only CPR performed immediately significantly increases a cardiac arrest victim's chance of survival. Being trained increases the chances you'll be prepared to assist in an emergency. Hands-only CPR is a technique that involves chest compressions without having to give mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. The training instructs participants to focus on their hand placement, tempo, and the depth of compressions. It is important for the public to remember the 4 C's. Check, check, call, compress. Let's talk about the first C. You want to check for scene safety. Second, you want to check the person for responsiveness. And third, you want to call 911 and provide as much information as possible to the operator. And then finally, compression. Remove clothing, push hard in the center of the chest until the paramedics arrive on the scene. For anyone today who is interested in receiving training, you can email hand.hearts@dc.gov. But now, Clotilda Nwete, DC Fire and EMS Program Manager, who leads the mission of training and bringing awareness of this life-saving skill to the residents and the guests of the District of Columbia, will provide a demonstration of hands-only CPR.
Hello? All right. Is everybody ready? So today we're just going to demonstrate how every person in the community can learn how to do simple CPR, hands-only CPR. As the chief said, what you only need to worry about is the 4 C's, the check, the call, compress. And once you've checked your scene and you make sure you're safe, because we don't want you running into a dangerous situation, we want you to make sure the person is not sleeping. If they're not responding, just tap them like this. And if they don't respond, then you're going to take out your cell phone, you're going to call 911. You're going to tell them the location of the incident, and you're going to give them as much detail, as much landmark information as possible. Once you've done that, put the speaker, a foot on the table or on the floor with the speaker on, and then you're going to yell out to someone, someone get an AED. Once you yell out, the next thing you're going to do is rip up the clothes, find the center of the chest by putting your arm under the armpit, coming to the center. Take the heel of your hand, place it in the center of the chest, and can I get my Staying Alive music? I'm going to sing. And you're going to push hard and fast like this. Staying alive, staying alive. Help me. Staying alive. There you go. And you just keep pushing hard and fast. And anyone can do it. So you can do it. That's all you have to do to help her out.
Thank you, Clotita. Please reach out. We want to train more. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Cotita. And I hope everybody remembers those lessons. And I also want to acknowledge some of our community members who are present, including Don Cook, the president of the Benning Ridge Civic Association. Thanks for being here, Don. Thank you. All of our advisory neighborhood commissioners, raise your hands. I think Commissioner Hammond is here. Anybody else? Thank you, commissioners, for give them a round of applause. I'd also like to acknowledge members of my administration, including Deputy Mayor Paul Kine, who is the Deputy Mayor for Education, which includes oversight of DPR and all of our lifelong learning activities. All right, so I think we have, Thinny, you're going to do some certificates?
Yes. The first certificate, Camila Salgado. If you.
There you go, Camila.
Let me read it. Kareem Jelks, Upshur Pool.
Thank you, Kareem.
Thank you, Kareem. Catherine Turner, Jelliff Pool.
Thank you, Catherine. Good picture.
Benjamin Davis, Theodore Hagans.
All right, Benjamin. Thank you, my dear. Thank you.
Naja Brooks, Theodore Hagans. Matthew Snowden, Randall Pool. Matt. Tamira Niles, Fort Stanton Pool. William Little, Ridge Road Pool. Michael Pearson, Fort Stanton Pool. And Dominique Harris, Theodore Hagans Pool. All of these individuals had saves this summer.
Well, thanks again, and thanks for the hard work that these young people have been able to do. And now we have time for questions. We have some on-topic questions first, and anything else. And I'll start asking my administration officials to join me at the podium. Yes, Mark. Sure. Thenie, the question is if we have one of the lifeguards who had a save who want to talk about it.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Naja.
Yeah.
The save at Hagen's, I felt very encouraged and I felt very strong about my staff and I's ability to be able to help the people that needed help at my pool. And I'm just very thankful and blessed that we got the training that we've received in order to do what we needed to do to save these people's lives and make sure that everybody stays safe the entire summer. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Sam.
This, of course, is off topic.
Okay.
But Mayor, obviously, we've been looking at the situation there on Rhode Island Avenue with the district dogs. You were there last year, as I recall, looking at the situation. And there's some question as to whether, everybody did what they were supposed to in that crisis. What are some of your thoughts? What can you tell the public about this?
Sure. First, I'm going to ask Director Rodriguez to kind of give you an overview about the devastating flood that we saw on Rhode Island Avenue and talk specifically about that incident and flood conditions more generally. Chris.
Thank you, Mayor Bowser, and good afternoon, everyone. First, what I'd like to just say is express, of course, heartfelt condolences to the families who lost their pets on that day. As a dog owner myself who lost our dog about 3 weeks ago, as a member of the family, I can feel the devastation of losing a family member. What happened the other day, a couple days ago, was one of the events and weather events that we have now been experiencing in our city for a few years, and in particular this summer. If you look at the events, the weather events, severe, that we have seen this summer, over 100-degree days for multiple days in a row. The July 29th storm in Ward 3. And of course what we saw the other day, we are experiencing the impacts of climate change. There's no question to that. And the other day, what we saw was a massive amount of rainfall in a very short period of time. And unfortunately, the impacts of climate change are also making these weather systems pop up very quickly and with little to no warning as cold and warm fronts sort of hit each other mostly towards the end of the day and drop massive amounts of precipitation and lightning and thunder on our city and our surrounding jurisdictions. Around a little bit before 2 o'clock, we received notification from the National Weather Service of a system that was rapidly forming to our west, a little bit west of I-81. And what the Weather Service told us is that that system would be making its way to our region. So a flood watch was put in effect. Immediately, what we do at the Homeland Security Emergency Management Agency with the District Watch is to make sure that those notifications go out, and they go out to the public. When the system then moved its way towards our area, a warning was put into effect by the National Weather Service of an impending lot of rain. And so once that system hit us, again, once we see in some of the interior areas of the city that amount of rain fall very quickly. They were anticipating up to 3 inches per hour. Now think about it in terms of if you were to take a cup and put a hole on the bottom of it, and you're going to pour water very slowly into the cup, it'll drain. But if you're going to pour a liter full of water into that cup, it'll sit until it drains out. Okay? And what we saw there in the Rhode Island Avenue area was a massive amount of rain falling very quickly. Now, fortunately, our fire and EMS professionals were there at Engine 12 on scene very quickly, reacted very quickly as the water started to rise. and saved some of the folks who were caught in their cars. And what we're going to do is continue to really look at how climate change is impacting our city and our preparations for these types of severe weather events, which will continue. And we will continue to see these types of events throughout the year, whether they be in the summer, the fall, or in the winter. So with that, Mayor, that's sort of the update on sort of what we saw the other day.
Thank you. Yes.
So that area, though, particular to where District Dogs is, everyone knows that it's experienced significant flooding in the past. DC Water said that their tunnel project was expedited after the issue in 2012. After last year's major flood, though, at that location, why wasn't the certificate of occupancy revoked, or why was that business allowed to continue there when it was known that that was a problematic area? And did any officials warn the business owner or the builders before that structure went up that that was a major flooding area there?
Well, I don't. Perhaps we can. I think Chris talked a little bit about the kind of the characteristics of this storm versus last year. And Sam, you're right. I was on the scene last year for flooding there, which is nothing like what we saw yesterday. Nothing like what we saw yesterday. And so I'm going to ask Brian Hanlon, who is our DOB official, to talk about what is the building and what's allowed there.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks. And I'll echo my condolences for the families that lost their beloved pets. The building was designed and permitted in accordance with the codes that are in place now. After last year's event, the building was re-inspected and deemed safe in accordance with the current code. And the owner took occupancy. There was a recommendation at the time for them to consider purchasing the barricades that were actually put in place. Those were 30 inches high and were sufficient for the volume of water that occurred in last year's storm. Certainly not for what just happened, as the mayor just said. Thank you.
Yes.
Speaking of the drains in that area, though, the owner did previously tweet out to city leaders, including your account as well, asking for the drains to be inspected, that there had been previous rains where it was still clogging up, and had asked DC Water if that was done. The council members also asking, were any
that may be,
inspections
Stephanie,
done?
but it really wouldn't have had an impact. What we're trying to explain to you is that it wouldn't have had an impact on yesterday's rains. So I can't.
It was Monday first.
May I finish?
Okay.
So I can't speak specifically to that tweet or the drains. You can expect us to be able to say more. We're in the early stages of evaluating and analysis and support for the business. So this won't be a full explanation of what needs to happen, but that's where we are now. We had a torrential rain, a very short period of time, and that's what we can say at this point. Yes.
Lay out the timeline of the response. Councilmember Zachary Parker told all of us yesterday that he believes, one, he said this was a citywide failure, what happened at District Dogs, and then he called into question the response by first responders compared to when the original 911 calls came in, and said that there was a 15-minute delay. I know I'm sure other reporters have requested a copy of the CAD report to see what time calls started coming in and what time trucks were dispatched to that location, and we know that Engine 12 self-dispatched and was taking care of people in their cars. But at what point did DC Fire realize people were trapped inside the building? At what point did 911 operators know people were trapped inside the building? And what was the time in between those when 911 knew? Because we understand that that Tower 3 was dispatched for a leak and then told to turn back by the incident commander, and then eventually the incident commander deployed a raft to District Dogs. So can somebody lay out that timeline for us?
Yes, but I don't think that we can lay it out in front of you right now. But what I want to be real clear about is that Fire and EMS was on the scene almost immediately because they were in the area. And so I can't talk to you about how many personnel or when they noticed that in addition to cars that needed evacuation assistance, that the nearby business also did. but all of that was happening at the same time.
With all due respect, why can't you tell us? Director Rodriguez, have you listened to the 911 calls? I note that the OUC director is not here. Certainly she's listened to the 911 calls by now. Has she told either you or the director what was told to the 911 operators? Was the sense of dire emergency conveyed by the people calling 911? I mean, it's been 48 hours. Somebody has to have done a preliminary.
Sure, and so we, in another setting, Mark, would be happy to go with you kind of line by line or minute by minute, but we won't be able to do that today. But what I want to reiterate is that Fire and EMS was on the scene almost immediately because they were in the area.
They were on the scene under the underpass rescuing people who needed to be rescued from cars. When did they arrive at District Dog's doorstep? When did they go into District Dog's? It seems like a pretty basic question that the director of HCMA should know the answer to.
We can go over a timeline with you at a later time. Yeah.
Mayor Bowser, we were there last year with you when we did the walk. Obviously, that commercial space was not there before. I heard you that it was deemed safe and was there. Is there any doubt that that building should even be there in that commercial space at this point after 4 flooding incidents?
We are certainly evaluating that, and we will be making some decisions around that.
And following up on that, any response as the district dog's owner says he's not coming back, obviously, following that, what would you say to him, obviously, after this 4th time of flooding and obviously this horrible tragedy?
Well, it's a horrible, obviously, he was entrusted to care for people's pets, and I know he's devastated. I know those families are devastated. I expect to be meeting with him to, discuss his status and how we can be helpful. Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Parker said yesterday that he feels the city bears responsibility. Do you agree with him?
I'm not here to respond to that. Yep. Yes.
Mayor, House Republicans are proposing to basically do away with home rule. What is your reaction?
We've heard these threats before, Sam, and I think we feel very strongly that the discussion should not be about dismissing home rule, but making D.C. the 51st state. And until we become a state, we always are subject to the whims of legislators not elected by us, and we have to continue to stay focused on that. All right, I'll take a few more. Anybody? Yes.
Mayor, we know that we cannot control the weather and we cannot control the storms, but what the city could do for try to avoid floodings in this area again?
Well, I want to ask DC Water to come up and talk about the project that they've been working on, but also we're all going to have a discussion about what more can be done, especially in that area, which we know is prone to flooding. As many people have said, it's flooded for many years, but not like that. Even last year when we thought it was a terrible situation, not like we saw the other day. And so we all have to be sure that we're hardening the city as much as possible. Residents and business owners are getting as much information as they can. And any engineering fixes beyond the incredible investments that we've already made are also on the table. So let me ask David Gaddis from DC Water to explain the upcoming opening of the project, which we think might mitigate some of the Rhode Island Avenue issues, but may not have even mitigated this type of storm.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me first of all and up front say that our sympathies go out to the individuals that lost their dogs during this horrific event on Monday, and it was a tragedy, and that those animals lost their lives. But we want to also thank the fire department for what they did in helping out and getting individuals out of those buildings, also dogs as well. But as far as this our project goes, the Northeast Boundary Tunnel. Northeast Boundary Tunnel is something that is a project that is ahead of schedule right now, approximately 2 years ahead of schedule. We're in the process of commissioning the Northeast Boundary Tunnel right now. The Northeast Boundary Tunnel was not built though to alleviate flood in the district. It was from an environmental standpoint to assist with the Anacostia and also helping that river come back to life, and it has done that thus far. As the mayor said, the amount of rain that we got the other day, even with the northeast boundary tunnel in play, we're not sure that it would have been able to handle the amount of rain that fell in that 45, 2-3 inches of rain fell within, 45 minutes of time. And we're not sure that the northeast boundary tunnel would have been able to sacrifice or take that water out as well. What we have to do is we will commission the northeast boundary tunnel. Once it's commissioned and in play, we will see from the next storm how it performs, and we'll see if it outperforms what we built thus far. But right now it's built for a 15-year storm. What we got the other day was far beyond a 15-year storm, and so we will continue to work with the mayor and her office as well in trying to make sure that we can help with the flooding in the district as we move forward. Thank you.
Yes, Sam.
Mr. Gaddis, so
may I just see the remaining questions? Okay, Sam and Stephanie, you have the last question. Okay, thank you.
So, Mr. Gaddis, it suggests you're saying there is no system to that you could build that could guarantee, let's say, that it would handle the water situation at that point. I guess at that bowl at the end of the bottom of the bowl area there.
Well, I won't say that there isn't a system. I will say that the system that we have in place right now is built for a 15-year storm, is what it's built for. But there may be a system that can be built. I can't answer that question.
Sir, I have a question for you as well, but also I do have a question for you, Mayor Bowser. Can you answer the council members' questions for the area? And I emailed with your team yesterday, and it was whether any of the catch basins had been checked before this storm. We also saw your crews out there checking the drains there. Were those checked before the storm as well? Is there any requirement to do so every so often?
They were checked. We constantly are checking the drains in the district, and those drains were checked as well as all drains throughout the district, especially the week before when we thought that a storm was coming. Ended up being a lot of wind versus rain, but they were checked a week before as well. But we constantly check the system and check the drains as well.
Thank you. And Mayor, my question for you, we all reached out to the different city agencies yesterday. We were told we would get a response from the Department of Buildings, but didn't yesterday. Is there any reason why we have to wait 2 days after to hear more on what's going on when so much damage was done on Monday?
Well, I'm sure they got and we'll get back to you when they have complete information. There was one other thing I wanted to add to Sam's question. What was your last question, Sam? Yes. So, I appreciate what the general manager has said. That's one thing that we will be pushing all of our teams on to see if there is some additional engineering fix in and around that intersection. My experience with those is those are long-term capital projects, and so there will obviously have to be short-term attention to keeping the area safe. And we'll develop as many of those mitigation tools as we can. All right. Thank you, everybody.
We now return to our previously scheduled program, already in progress.